A reading from the book of Proverbs. When one finds a worthy wife, her value is far beyond pearls. Her husband, entrusting his heart to her, has an unfailing prize. She brings him good and not evil all the days of her life. She obtains wool and flax and works with loving hands. She puts her hands to the distaff and her fingers ply the spindle. She reaches out her hands to the poor and extends her arms to the needy. Charm is deceptive and beauty fleeting. The woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her a reward for her labors, and let her work praise her at the city gates. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
A reading all about how awesome marriage is. What a fun reading for a celibate man to preach to a group of celibate men about. In this reading, as I said, we're presented with a beautiful image of marriage, that of the incalculable value of a good and holy spouse. We are told that this relationship is more valuable than riches or wealth or anything that money could buy. I'm sure that many of us, if not all of us here, have gotten to experience a close relative or a close friend get married and to see them as a married couple. We can see how much good these relationships of love do, not just for the couple themselves, but for all those close to them. I have long felt that we as the church should pray for an increase in vocations to the married life, the same way we ask for more vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Despite all this good, we don't have to look too far to also find examples of broken marriages and broken families. And just as good marriages can bring so much good into the world and so much joy to people, so too can these broken relationships bring pain and hurt to so many people as well. Why is it that relationships can bring so much good, but also potentially bring so much pain as well? It all comes down to the fact that God has made us for relationship. From the very beginning, God saw that it was not good for us to be alone. In the very deepest parts of ourself, we long for communion with God, and we also long for communion with each other. There is something within us that desires to give of ourselves to the other and also to receive something from the other. For many people, they will give themselves totally and completely in the sacrament of marriage to another. But we can also find this life-giving communion in any of our relationships, whether they be within a family or a group of friends, or even here in a life of lived in community. Any relationship can be fruitful and life-giving if we are willing to open ourselves up to others and to be open to what the other has to give to us. Again, as I said, God has made us for communion. And at the very deepest parts of our souls, we want to have relationship and communion. And so, whenever our desire for communion is met with rejection, or even worse, we feel used by the other. We feel that we're used as another person. Many people can go through these stages of life feeling alone and unwanted. They feel hurt and wounded by the lack of relationships they have with others. And they end up searching desperately for something to fill that hole within them, to find something that will fill their deepest desire. As I said, they may feel used by others. They feel they are kept around only until they are no longer needed, and once they are no longer needed, they're cast aside, forgotten about. But we can change this. We live in this life of community, of relationships, of communion with others. We can draw people back into communion with one another and to give them a fuller relationship with God. We can be like our Heavenly Father, who is always faithful, never abandons us, never abandons His people. We can bring God's love into places that are overrun with brokenness and suffering and sorrow. And when we do that, we are bringing healing to these places of pain. We can help people to see who they are. They are truly beloved sons and daughters of God our Father. Let us show the Father's love to the world.
Yeah.